Först fick han Ragnar konkor fri om natten lade förrän han heje knörren smuja så var river här Ute vid strandjon berga stranger synker och jatar manje klunna täka trinne költor örnen drevor av anker bejer detta danjer ni göra svören Snäsjonar på Tamonte kan vära ormbär hon och jag ser dotter tjurar snära ute vid strandjon berga stranger synker och jatar manje glunna täka tvinne költor örnen till våra vanje dejer detta vänjer ni göra svören
Hey everyone, this is DJ Thunderous. I'm happy to be here with Heri from the band Týr from the Faroe Islands. How's it going, Heri?
It's going great, thanks. Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, thank you for allowing us to have you here. For everyone that has not heard of Týr and maybe has heard of Týr, could you give us a history of the band, please?
Well, the brief history is we were some guys from the Faroes who met kind of randomly again in Copenhagen in 1998 and formed the band. That would have been me, the bass player Gunnar Thomsen, and the drummer Kar Stramer, who is no longer the drummer of the band. And we have released 8 studio albums, I believe, and we have toured most of the world many times. And of course, recently stopped touring, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we're working on our 9th album. I'm just sitting with it in front of me on my computer as I speak.
I wish I could see it.
About the music, I was always fascinated with Norse mythology and Faroese and Scandinavian folk music. So I kind of put that together with heavy metal. So it's usually called Viking metal, folk metal, or pagan metal. Although that doesn't really tell you much about the style. It's more of the content of the lyrics and this feel of the melodies. We've used mostly clean vocals, although I've used harsh vocals once on the last album, and it's I suppose the music has been progressive from time to time to varying degrees on all albums, and people ask me what I want to call it. I just say heavy metal straight up. All these names, Viking, folk, pagan, progressive, it's not really helpful, at least not to musicians.
That is true, and you can come up with your own concept that way, I think.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the band name?
Like I said, I was fascinated by Norse mythology, and one of the deities is Týr, and what I thought was one of the most fascinating stories from the entire mythology is chaining of the wolf Fenrir, and he grows bigger and bigger. The gods see he might be a problem someday, so the bravest of the gods, Týr, is the only one who has the courage to feed him and take care of him. So they talk him into chaining the wolf, and it's a longer story, but the short story is the wolf says he would need someone to put his hand in his mouth.
Yep.
So one of the gods would have to put their hands in the wolf's mouth as insurance that they're not tricking him. They told him he would certainly be able to break the chain. When he feels he's not able to break the chain, he bites off the hand, and so the Týr put his hand in the mouth, knowing that he would lose it. So it's an inspirational story about personal sacrifice for the common good.
That's awesome. Now, what got you into music personally?
I started playing guitar when I was 14. I was already listening to some music before that. So I was my mother's musical interests. She was not a musician, but she listened to a lot of music. She had a cassette desk, and I stole it from her whenever I could. I listened to the popular Scandinavian music and also American country and western, which I still like because of my mother's influence. So there was things like Buck Owens, Skeeter Davis, and good old American country western, and then also ABBA and Scandinavian pop. When I was 14, I must have been around there when I got into heavy metal, first with Mötley Crüe, Iron Maiden, later bands like Rubbish, Def Leppard, and Scandinavian bands like Return and TNT.
Yes, they're good.
Europe. I was absolutely transfixed by those bands, and it made a disproportionately large impression on me. I can tell now by looking back. I wasn't aware of it at the time. I can see now that the friends that I was hanging out with at the time didn't react the same way to the music as I have done, and it just consumed me and has for the remainder of my life. So my big brother started playing guitar with his friends before I did, and that got me interested in guitar immediately. And so I bought an electric guitar when I was 14. Joined my first band with some of my friends when I was 17, and been in a band ever since.
So that's over 20 years. What's it feel like to be in a band for 20 years?
Well, it's not the same band for Thunderhead has been around for 20 years. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great feeling. I mean, looking back at the things we've done and recorded and the places we've gone, what we've experienced, it feels like, you know, my life's work, and there's still a lot left to be done. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling.
I can imagine. Now, have you ever played any other instruments besides the guitar?
When you go to the public school in the Faroes, the recorder is compulsory. So I played the recorder from when I was 7 years old until I started playing guitar.
So that's how you got your notes, where you learned your notes from, probably.
Exactly. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. I haven't touched the recorder in decades. Maybe I'll take it up again.
You could probably add that into one of your albums.
The thought has crossed my mind, but I haven't realized that yet.
So, from one of our listeners, this is from Mikey D. He wants to know who writes the music and lyrics, and what's the process?
I've written most of the music. My bandmates have written some of it. So the process is I try to come up with, well, nowadays at least, I try to come up with a simple and good and solid idea. In the past, on some albums, I've just piled on more ideas to make the songs more progressive and intricate. But I find it more satisfying nowadays to find one good idea and make the whole song from that. Songs like Hold the Heathen Hammer High or even Blood of Heroes, to which Terje provided the basic idea. So
yes.
Let's take the song Blood of Heroes, for example. Terje had a very long song. It was like 5 or 6 minutes long with many long riffs, varying riffs. And I told him, this one riff in the midsection is quite catchy. Let's just take that, make that into a song. So I took the one riff as you hear it at the start of Blood of Heroes, and I kind of devised the vocal melody from the tiny bit of melody that's there in the riff already, and kind of built the rest on that. And I find it's a more effective way if you can make one small, simple idea work, make it bigger, without adding more ideas necessarily, but more like working with the one idea. I think it tends to turn into stronger songs. And there are bands that do it the different way. We have ourselves done it another way, and it brings a different feeling, but it's also more demanding to listen to. And the more you do that, the more you're left with only musicians listening to your music. Something like Dream Theater, for example, where you can see they're just piling on more and more ideas. It's fun in a way, and there's an audience for that. But the simple way is more attractive and more satisfying to me at the moment. So I will just take a basic idea and make a lot of variations over it. Try different tempos, try different rhythms, try different variations of the riff. Make a melody over it, make a harmony to the melody, see if the harmony maybe is better than the original melody, things like that. Just turn it inside out a few times and mix it up and see what comes out of it.
That sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually probably pretty well worth it.
It is a lot of work, and it gets quite complicated from time to time, but it's the way yeah, well, I don't want to say anymore. I really like to do it this way, and yeah, I feel after I've done it that it really is worth it. Yes, turns into a song that I think I can put my name on.
I agree. The first time I heard your band, I was hooked. The melodies are amazing. Your vocals are great.
Thank you.
Now, my question is, I know you haven't always been the vocalist. How did you become the vocalist of the band?
It was an emergency solution. Paul Arne was vocalist on our first album.
Yep.
He was a great vocalist, and he has a new band in the Faroes now called Hamradun. and you might want to check them out. They're quite nice. It's a bit softer rock, I suppose you might call it hard rock, with a large folk influence. He's a great singer, and he's a great guy. He's a great front guy. Unfortunately, he at the time we were trying to establish our name, he didn't really have the ambition to become a professional musician. So our schedules didn't line up. We were simply going for 100%, and we were all studying at the time. It's very understandable that someone would not want to take the time for what we did. In fact, I fell out of my studies because I spent all time on music. I was studying to become a linguist, and
Wow.
I found I was spending all my time on the music, so I just quit the linguistic studies and became a musician instead. And so we were going as fast as we could, and Paul Arne quit, and we looked for a new singer. We tried a lot of guys, and we had the material to go into studio with our next album, and we felt we just couldn't sit around waiting till we found a new singer. So I said, "Fuck it, I'll try myself." And my bandmates were, rolling their eyes behind my back, thinking, "Oh boy, here we go." But we had that was our first encounter with Jacob Hansen studio in Denmark. It was for our second album. He's a very, very good studio engineer, and it's at least 50% thanks to his excellent studio work that the first album had my decent vocals on it.
And which album was that?
Eric the Red.
Okay. Excellent album. Now,
yeah, so that was my first album singing lead, and that's how I became a singer.
Did it get easier as time went on, and did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, plenty. I was very nervous and awkward. I'm naturally very awkward and nerdy and introvert, but I've learned to like it, and it's much easier now than it was. Oh yes.
And the combination of playing guitar and singing, how was that for you? Was it that difficult too?
It is difficult, but with practice, you'd be surprised how easy it is in the end.
Yeah. So how has your band evolved over the years?
Well, we started very doomy, I suppose, on the first album, How Far to Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do something quite different than what we turned out doing in the end. And I remember after the album, I was thinking that wasn't really what I meant. So having gone through the process once kind of gives you some insight that you need to make albums that you want to make. So the second album is much more in line with what I wanted to make. There's still some elements of quality, I think, on the first album, but the sound was not terribly good, and the songwriting was, well, my first attempt. So what can you say? It became much more progressive, and maybe it had a bit lighter feeling. I didn't mean for it to be that dark and gloomy and heavy and I don't know, maybe depressing isn't the right word, but I didn't really go for that heavy atmosphere. I wanted something a bit more uplifting. I always found, say Black Sabbath or Dio's really heavy songs kind of uplifting in a way, but and they play really slow and heavy. I just couldn't do it with their own music. We needed a different approach. So already on the second album, it's faster, lighter, and a little bit more progressive. And by the third album, it was probably the most progressive album we've made, Ragnarok. Then I thought it was getting too progressive, like they were too not. It was going to take a very long time to rehearse and to write songs, record, and also the amount of people that are potential listeners is decreasing the more complicated you make it. So I started thinking about making a side project, which I later made. Heljareia only made one album so far.
I'll have to check that out.
Please do. That was just to get rid of all my really progressive inclinations. So it went one more album. I tried to make it simpler with the Land album, but it was simpler in a stranger way. So finally, I think by the light of the Northern Star in 2009, we had our kind of maybe our signature sound as we have preserved until this day. So it's simpler, faster. Always tried for the epic feeling to make it as high flying and as big as possible of an impression. That's really what I'm going for. The upliftingness, if there's such a word, of it.
There is, and I have to say, it's every time I listen, it's like soothing. It makes me happy, you know.
I'm very glad to hear that. That's of course not all music should do that, but I like to make such music.
And it's like
I'm very happy to hear that.
And you can understand it. It's, you know what I mean? You know, there's like, I understand there's concept, but you guys do like concept albums from what I see. And is that true?
Yeah, mostly. Some of the albums are like, I guess there's some line through all albums. Like one of the albums, Ragnarok, is a real concept album with a line through it all. Mm-hmm. Maybe By the Light of the Northern Star also has some line left through them. Yeah, mostly there's one thought behind the album, but there's varying degrees of interconnectedness, though.
Yeah, it just seems like there's stories in there for me, you know. And for everyone else, I would think. I don't know. Everybody hears things differently, I guess, but...
Yeah.
Now, out of all the 8 albums, you have 8 albums released right now. Which is your favorite?
Oh...
That's a hard one.
If we were closer to the release of the most recent album, I would say the most recent album. That would almost always be the case. But once you get some distance to it, you kind of see it in a more relative light. And... I would say maybe By the Light of the Northern Star or Valkyria would be my favorite albums.
Yeah, and mine so far is Hell. I really like Hell.
I'm glad you like it. I'm very glad you like it. It turned out a bit more complicated than I would like now that I look back on it. Mm-hmm. It's a bit more to the slightly progressive and long winding part. I'm not. I think it's an excellent album compared to the rest of our albums. Still, nothing wrong with it, but I think for the future it will be less long winding songs and a little bit less of that progressive.
And every time I hear your band name, "Hell to the Hammer" comes out in my head. I just want to scream that song. I love it.
Cool.
Now, is that one a tough one for you to play, or is it fun?
Hail to the Hammer?
Yeah.
No. It's fun. You really have to get to terms with, if you want to make a career of music, there will be songs you have to play every show for the rest of your life. And
right.
If you can't handle that, then you can't handle the business, or you're going to have some very tough times. Every time you play it, there are some people that hear it for the first time live, and you kind of have to learn to take part in their experience and their enjoyment of hearing them live, and just ignore how often you played it and how much you wish to play something else. Well, actually, I don't. I came to terms with it, and I'm very, very happy to see people like it so much when we play it, and that's enough for me.
I'm sure. Now that we're into talking about touring, what's it like to be Týr when on stage, and what's the largest crowd you've ever played for?
It's surprisingly hard to get precise crowd numbers from the promoters. If you ask the promoter himself, the guy who runs the festival, he will give you an exaggerated number. If you ask security staff, they will give you a lower number,
yep,
to cover their asses. So honestly, I don't know, but it would have to be either Masters of Rock in Czechia in 2009 or 10, mm-hmm, between 10 and 15,000, and in the Faroes at the Sommerfestivalen in a bit later than that. We have a video, the official video for Blood of Heroes, is shot at that festival, at that performance. There were also between 10 and 15,000 people. Then we played at Summer Breeze,
okay, yes,
festival in in a huge tent in the huge indoor stage, probably also between 10 and 15,000. So precise, one of those three. Which precisely I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Is that intimidating to you, all the people, or does it make you happy?
No, it makes me happy, of course. Dollar signs rolling in my eyes. but no. Once you played for 500, 5,000 or 50,000, it really doesn't make a difference. You can't see their faces anyway, which is kind of a shame. So you focus on the front row.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, it just doesn't make a difference anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Now, speaking of tours, last year was not a good year for touring with COVID and all. How did that impact your band, and how did you cope with that?
Oh dear, yeah. I mean, we are the most unfortunate line of business for this. Our business model is crossing international borders and gathering large crowds of people.
Mm-hmm.
We will be the last business to be back to normal. We started. I started being much more active on social media to compensate, to make sure people know we're still around and people don't forget about us.
Right.
So we've done a lot of work on our social media to keep it going and to establish some routines there. We established our own merch shop, web store.
Cool.
And started producing our own merch.
Mm-hmm.
That had been neglected for a long time. And those two things have taken a fair amount of work and time, much more than I expected to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to underestimate all burdens of work, fortunately maybe. And then I've been writing music. I made a band with my girlfriend. I lived together with her here in Prague, in Czechia.
Mm-hmm.
We made a band called Surma, and we have released one album and some singles. And I've off and on I've been writing music for the next album, and I'm working on that right now. Touring has ceased for all intents and purposes. We have played 4 shows this year.
Wow.
If all goes well, next year won't be horrible, but I mean, it's anyone's guess right now what's going to happen. I think it's completely unpredictable.
And the Týr cast, I've watched a couple of those episodes. Who came up with that idea? Did you? That's pretty neat.
That was my idea. I noticed some bands have their own podcast, and it's a great idea to present everyone's give audience an access to a bit deeper into each person's personality, and also fun for us. We've never stayed in touch so much when we're not on tour,
right?
As we have done now that we're making the Tourcast. Like we will record one episode and then we'll be talking for maybe an hour or two after.
That's good.
So it's good for the atmosphere, for the morale of the band also.
That's true. How did you guys practice?
For the shows we have played, we have got together and practiced for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, if it were a good normal year, we don't practice at all together. We memorize the songs at home. And for example, the first time we played with our current drummer in 2016 in Estonia,
mm-hmm.
It was the first time we met him. It was on stage playing.
Wow.
1 hour set. So he memorized all the songs, and there's no place, no time, no circumstance to practice together. Just memorize the stuff as good as you can, and meet us on stage, and
hope it goes well.
It's of course. You know how well you have to memorize it. I mean, it's never gone really wrong. It's also not the best. If we had time to practice together, it would be better. But it's what we can do. So when we play a lot, when we meet like at least every 2 weeks to play a show or go on tour, we get so much into the routine that we don't really need to rehearse together.
That's pretty good, though. Now you did say you have some shows that might be coming up in 2022. I see that you have the Tour from Hell possibly coming up with the 5 dates.
Yeah, we have a UK tour. So far it's only England, but we really hope to add some more dates to that. Our crew is working on it at the moment, and the first thing from now on will be a show in the Faroes on the 26th of February. We have it's the 20th anniversary for the first album, and we're also releasing the recordings of the symphonic show we played almost 2 years ago now.
Nice. And who are going to be your special guests at this tour?
At this show, we will have our original singer and drummer appearing for some songs, and Terje, our longtime guitar player, who's no longer with the band, will also be playing. And Amon Djurus, who was stand-in drummer for Kari Stremo for about 2 years, will also be playing. So we will have everyone who was ever full member of the band, at least for the time since we released the first album.
That's great. Maybe you guys could get a recording of that and, send that out to everyone.
I'm pretty sure we will. Yes, that is the plan.
That's special. That is great. Do you have any other festivals planned in 2022 or not as of yet?
Yeah, we do. One of the shows on the UK tour is a festival on the 12th of March. We're playing at the Hard Rock Hell Spring Break in Great Yarmouth. And there's a festival in Finland called Z-Rock.
Okay.
On the 1st of April. And we're playing in France at Stamarok on the 4th or 5th of June. We have Udgårdsfest in Copenhagen on the 30th of September. Then there's the Australian tour that we have announced. Yeah, after that we have something that
you can't talk about
announced yet. No, but there's also at least 50% chance it won't happen because of this situation.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, hoping for the best for next year, but like I said, it's anyone's guess at the moment.
I know. I can't wait till you guys can come to the U.S.
That is on the very top of our to-do list.
Great. We'll meet you that day. So I see you have a Patreon right now, and you're in the process of recording your 9th album. Can you tell us anything about the new album yet?
It's still early days, but like I said, songs will be a bit less lengthy than on Hill. A bit less progressive. Hill was a very long album, and over the 13 songs, and some of them very long.
Yeah, but very
the
good.
next one will be more concise. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. The next one will be more concise. Some specific changes.
Good.
And that I can't get into right now. But I'm still doing the basic songwriting the same way, so that's not going to change. Possibly Gunnar and Hans and Thaddeus will provide some ideas for the album also, and I will arrange that, and we will arrange that together, and it'll be the same old, only a bit better, I hope.
Well, it's never same old to us, so you don't ever have to worry about that. And I also forgot to mention, that question there was coming from Joe CP. He's one of our DJs. If you could give him a shout out, I'm sorry. I thought that I had mentioned it, but I didn't. He does.
Josie, thanks for the question.
Yeah, he does a show called Beards and Broadswords on our radio station. All Viking metal.
Joe.
Yep.
I thought you said Josie.
No, his last name is Joe CP. But yeah.
Sorry, Joe. Cool question.
All right, on to another listener question. I didn't write down the person's name, so hopefully they're tuned in. What kind of gear do you use?
I haven't owned a proper amplifier in at least a decade. When touring on a tight budget, it's been our constant struggle to minimize the weight and bulk of our equipment, so that it's rentable to travel. We used to travel with amp heads, and it is a nightmare. And those things are brittle, and
they break.
They stop working for yeah, they break. Then we went to Kemper, the digital amps. That is a decent solution, and we had some similar digital solutions we tried, but now we are at a level where we have all the amplifiers as plugins in a computer. So there's a laptop that runs all the amp simulations, and we play through the laptop. So it is the most minimal equipment that we can have. So I don't own an amp. I haven't owned one for a decade. I have some Kempers around here that I don't use very much. I have some bias effects that you run on an iPad actually, and put it into a dock of sorts to connect to your audio system. And so mostly I just play with plugins in.
That's cool.
In the digital universe, and it sounds like the decent ones sound like real amps. You know, they are simulations made directly from an amplifier. So someone actually modeled the sound from an amplifier and saved it.
That's
in
great.
this plugin. So it sounds as good as you can expect.
That's excellent. I can't wait to see you guys live.
Cool.
Tom from Holland, he's one of our good listeners on the station, wants to know if you are named after the Black Sabbath. If you are named after the Black Sabbath album.
Yeah, I would say 50% of the reason for choosing exactly that name was that it was already the name of a Black Sabbath album, and it felt like the name was already in heavy metal. Didn't feel that outlandish to take the name. So yeah, 50% from the myth I told you about earlier, and 50% from the Black Sabbath album. And we probably nicked the logo from the album as well, and we turned the Y rune the right way around.
Yes. And Mikey D also wants to know, what does the band name mean to you?
Well, it signals first to me and then to anyone who cares to look into it that we are see ourselves as representatives of the Nordic tradition, for which I have a great admiration and respect, and yeah, I suppose that's it.
Okay. And here's our ultimate question coming from Lady Red and her bath of blood. Her name is Vicky. She would like to know if you wear boxer briefs or nada.
I wear boxer briefs.
All right. And she would also like to know if you take bubble baths or showers.
Showers.
Showers? Just showers.
Yeah. Occasionally we go to a spa here in Prague, and I lay in some soaking in some hot pool for an hour. I do enjoy it, but at home only showers.
Yes, well, she does the show called Bath of Blood. That's why she asks those questions.
I see.
All right, so do you guys have any endorsements with your band?
Yeah, we do. Gunnar is endorsed by ESP Guitars and Basses, and I am endorsed by a Swedish guitar brand called Ragnarok Guitars.
Oh, nice.
Handmade in Sweden. Very, very nice guitars. And I get my strings from I think it's a Californian brand called Clear Tone strings.
Okay.
Extraordinary strings. Never failed me once. And my plectrums come from my guitar picks come from Denmark. Morgan picks. Thaddeus has a very good deal with the cymbal maker in Istanbul, called Istanbul Cymbals.
Nice.
And he may have some other deal of which I am not aware of at the moment. But yeah, we do have a few endorsements.
Wow. How many guitars do you own?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one when you're playing live?
Yes. My latest one, the one from Ragnarok. I need very specific guitars, and it's been a struggle to get guitars I can use. So I have 3 guitars, electric guitars that I can use live, and the reason is I use 7 strings and 29 frets at least.
Wow.
And having anyone make that for me has been a nightmare. If I'd known that, I would never have started to use it in the first place.
But it sounds excellent, so it's worth it.
Yeah, I hope so. It's too late to go back now. So I have one Ibanez, a guitar, one Bjarnastein is a Faroese brand, and then this Ragnar from Sweden, and it's my most recent guitar and the one I like to play the most at the moment.
Awesome. So down the road, when do you think you're going to be releasing your 9th album?
Oh, I wouldn't. I can't.
You can't say right now, huh?
Put a deadline on that. No, I wouldn't know. But even if I told you, I would probably slaughter the deadline once it gets so far.
And then you'll have us looking for it, right?
Yeah, no, we will have to wait until the album is done, and then, we'll deliver it to the record label. They will announce it. It takes, more than half a year these days from when you deliver material to the record label until they release it. And the reason is it's difficult to produce vinyl. There's shortage of some materials, desperate shortage, and having your vinyls produced just takes such a long time. So we're taking. It's going to take at least a year. Yeah. Definitely a bit more than that.
It'll be quality though, I'm sure. Now, are you still with the same
record?
Hope so. Are you still with the same record label?
Metal Blade Records in Los Angeles.
Yes, that's what I thought. I didn't want to say it and be wrong. They're a great record label.
They are.
Do you have anything else you would like to tell us about, or anyone you would like to give a shout out to out there?
No one in particular. I'm very, very pleased people are listening to our music and that people are interested in when we will be doing our next album. Maybe I can mention with my other band Surma, that I'm with my girlfriend here in Czechia. We just released a single today, Yuletide song, and it's called A Yuletide Tale.
Okay.
And it's available on YouTube, Spotify, and all streaming platforms. And it's a song for the season.
Awesome. And what is your website for your merchandise, and where can everyone reach you?
Tyr.fo. It's tyr.fo. It's a pretty simple website. You can find everything there. For my other band, Surma, it's Surma, surma.band. And that's the new band I have with my girlfriend.
Okay.
And I suppose if you look for either of those on Instagram, Facebook, you'll find them. Then there's my third and rather inactive band, Heljareia. It's a long and difficult name to spell, but if you're really interested, you'll find some of it on my Facebook as well, Heri Joesen on Facebook.
Awesome.
But there's not much happening there.
That's okay. Well, I'm sure that we look forward to seeing you out on tour, and hopefully things stay picked up for you guys, and we will be happy to talk to you again when you release the new album.
That would be very nice. Thank you for doing this, and I hope to see you in the US once we get so far.
Oh, we will see you. Could you do a shout out for us for the radio station, please? I'll tell you what to say.
I can.
Say your name, your band's name. You're tuned into the Thunderhead show on MetalDevastationRadio.com, where metal reigns supreme.
I shall say that.
Okay.
Hello, this is Heri Joesen from Týr, and you are tuned in to the Thunderhead show on MetalDevastationRadio.com, where metal reigns supreme.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for responding and allowing us to do this today.